Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi. I am with Mr. Jayadeva Ranade, a renowned expert on China, to try and find out and decipher what's happening inside China. So, sir, firstly, namaskar and welcome to the show. It's always an honor to have you on the platform and learn from you. And I'm sure this is not going to disappoint in any way.
Namaskar, Adi, and thank you very much for inviting me, for having me on your show.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I want to begin with something a little bit tactical right now with regards to this whole issue of our grazers being intercepted, if I may, by or the grazers intercepting the PLA, if I may put it that way. Actually, it looked like that more than the PLA intercepting our grazers. How do you put that into perspective?
Well, I think it's a welcome signal because over the years, what has been happening is the Chinese have been nibbling away, and our graziers have been denied access to the traditional grazing grounds which they used to use, and we did not really, shall I say, back them up or insist with the Chinese that they continue to go there. What has happened is that the Chinese graziers on the Chinese side began using it, denying our people traditional grazing grounds. And this has happened in a number of places. So I think now with our graziers going back, and as I read the reports in the public domain, with the army sort of assisting them or backing them up, I think that's a welcome sign. It means that we are not going to allow this nibbling away to continue.
So, uh, I mean, the most interesting thing, I don't know if it was a faux pas or a purposeful thing, but leaving that aside, the Western Command Gallantry Awards put out a lot of information with regards to tactical actions taking on the LAC without getting into tactical spectrums of it, sir. But how do you look at the factor that these kind of operations, which are risky, injuring, and probably even deadly in some natures, still continuing on the LAC, sir?
Well, it is firstly, I would say that one should expect such operations to continue because while the uh, border is generally peaceful, but don't forget that there are 70,000 troops on each side, um, and they're suspicious of each other's actions. And I expect that the Chinese side, and of course to some extent our side, would be trying to ensure that they retain positions from where they can control the state of play on the battlefield, or otherwise at least try and acquire such positions. So that is what we are seeing. And whether intentional or otherwise, as you put it, the citations that were read out, they revealed at least two or three such incidents that took place and which warranted gallantry awards, which means they were not, routine, run of the mill kind of incidents. So I think, uh, in one sense, it should give our people some encouragement that our troops are there and they are holding ground. They are not going to yield space. And the second is that it should give the Chinese pause for thought. I don't know whether that has happened, but it certainly should give them pause for thought that, the times have changed. It's no longer going to be that they come in and do what they like. So I think that's the way I would read it.
Interesting. So, how do you look at the Chinese media, sir? That because we can see a very mixed sort of a narrative coming out of the Chinese media. On one side, we see reports, "Oh, India's arrived," and this and that, and that to me was a ploy to kind of get us out of the global south and get our kind of hold or voice or whatever you'd like to put it as away from the global south. The second came out as recrimination on India on Balochistan, support to Pakistan with regards to the so-called unknown gunman killing, which is happening inside Pakistan. uh, this was very interesting to me that there is this section of Chinese media is kind of flipping from one side to the other. Have they kind of lost their plot with regards to their India policy, or they are trying different things?
I would not look at it like that, Adi. I would say that the basic trend remains the same by trying to dilute our position vis-a-vis the global south. It's not something to, where we should look at it as Chinese acknowledging that we are rising. They're doing it to gain a point that we are no longer part of the global south. So, why are we actually being it and why we taking up their case, as it were. Let's not forget that that was a masterstroke at the G20 by getting the African Union in. So I think it's part of that. That's how I would look at it. The second is, as you said, I mean, right now they are very close to Pakistan. As you know, that the old saying of higher than the highest mountain, deeper than the deepest ocean. So for them, this is a very convenient thing that has happened, a convenient development, where now Pakistan has come out saying that we are, accusing us of eliminating some of the terrorists on their side, but they're, I think, viewing it on the larger canvas of what's happening in with Canada and the US, and trying
Mm.
to say that India is the bad boy. They're doing this kind of stuff, and they're trying to, if possible, drive a wedge between us and the United States. So that is the way I would look at it, Tata.
I mean, it's very interesting that here is a country who's trying to say, we are not part of the global south, when China as a country does not consider the global south as a entity, right? Just till I would say 2021, 2022, they wanted to go to the G2. What happened here, sir?
Yeah, that's true. But they don't want to give up a large constituency. I mean, they want to project themselves. As you know, they still call themselves a developing nation, and they're still, wanting to hold on to that constituency because it's a large number of countries, from Africa and Latin America, South America, and all in the UN, and they're looking at so many votes and so many expressions of support that they would get or at the international forum. So that's why they don't want to give it up. And of course, it's to edge us out of one diplomatic forum where we are dominant at the moment.
So did the realization happen when we did the summit, or did they, kind of look at it before as well, sir?
Well, calling themselves a developing nation, they've been doing from before. But
Yeah.
I think as I said, getting the African Union in came as quite a surprise to them. They lost ground. Firstly, with Xi Jinping not coming, which was probably to show that he's upset with us, but it's backfired because he ceded ground.
Interesting. So, how do you look at Xi Jinping himself today? There are rumors after rumors after rumors after rumors coming across, and let me put that across. They're just rumors. I can't confirm or deny them, but the sheer factor that all of these rumors are coming out of inside China tells you something.
Yeah, the overall picture that seems to come, and I'm not like you. I'm not confirming that they are, based on solid fact. They are rumors at the moment, but there are a couple of interesting things here. I don't recall now whether we discussed it, but the foreign minister's removal, Chin Kang, it was sudden. He's a protege of Xi Jinping. In fact, he picked him up, put him there, etc. And it's taken many months. And even till now, the reason has not been stated as to why he's been removed. And he continues to be a member of the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party. Same with Li Shangfu, who was promoted as defense minister again by Xi Jinping, and he's a second generation close family friend of Xi Jinping's. So, is it a pushback against Xi Jinping exercising too much authority, or have these guys done something really serious? One doesn't know. There have been clues in the Chinese media about some misdemeanors by Qin Kang, and there have been warnings about how particularly foreign service cadres should behave, how they should interact with foreigners and with women and all that kind of thing. And but just one or two. And then on Li Shangfu, of course, seems to be part of a wider case of corruption within the PLA. And they're saying that Li Shangfu could have been involved from his days in the equipment development department. But one doesn't know. Again, there's nothing solid that has come. But a series of generals, and here, Adi, I'd like to point out that all these 15 odd generals who've been removed, they've been appointed by Xi Jinping. And there was if you recall, a Xinhua dispatch quoting the organization department of the party, saying that each candidate for the post of central committee member or above was vetted by Xi Jinping. So,
Correct.
it's sort of as if his systems haven't worked. That's the meaning that I would get. And the
So who?
third thing I would say is that the Central Discipline Inspection Commission, which is the anti-corruption body, they have been, going through the PLA literally. I mean, year after year, there have been successive campaigns, and the central audit have been going to various units in the PLA, and yet they were not able to uncover all this. To my mind, it is almost as if the PLA officers, they have their own group, and they didn't want any outsiders to really come and know what they're up to. In other words, my question is the party's control of the PLA that
Fragile.
tight as they claim?
That's very interesting, and because I want to put that into perspective a little bit with regards to India, sir, is the factor that a lot of people say that Xi Jinping didn't even know those balloons flew over the Americas, and he came to know only when the damn things were shot down. That is one aspect of it, and of course, a lot of people have had the doubt that the general who started the standoff with India, uh, was he also not, did he also not communicate with Xi Jinping with regards to this? There are questions about this. What does that tell you about his hold on the PLA itself?
I don't buy this argument. No, subsequently, there have been reports that the balloons over the US was something that had been going on for a long time.
Mhm.
And it's not a one off thing. Maybe he didn't know that at that time it was going, but the program as such he was aware of. As far as we are concerned, I think it was very clear that it was a direction given by him. I think the PLA had started getting ready from about 2016 for undertaking some kind of action. And the fact that he has visited Tibet, 3, 4 times, he's been to the Western Command, and he's also on the opening day of the 20th Party Congress. They screened those clips about Galwan. So I
Mhm.
think these are all conscious steps which show that the action against India was certainly cleared at the very top, including that torchbearer at the games and all that kind of thing. So I think on that I have no doubt, and I don't think that I would take it so far as to say that the PLA commanders would do something without directives from the top. Corruption is one thing, not maybe complying 100% with the party's policy directives is another thing. But undertaking military action, I think, is quite different. I don't think they would do it. Many resources are required for that, and the word would get out. So I don't think a PLA commander can really try that. It's the there. I would say the party's grip is quite firm.
I'll take one on corruption, sir. Recently, Bloomberg reported that. Now I took it with a pinch of salt, of course, but the water in the rockets, that was a little weird, and of course we also heard those lids not functioning. And furthermore, there's this retired dissident colonel who stays, a PLA Navy colonel who stays in America, who said that we used to steal rocket fuel to make our hot pots in because they didn't give us adequate supplies. Forget everything else. What does this whole thing tell you? Truth or not truth is a different story.
Well, like you, I was also quite skeptical, and I remain skeptical about this. It's possible. I mean, who knows? But this seems to be almost a bit of disinformation that's coming out. And this lieutenant colonel defected to the US some years ago, which is where he is. And the source of this water in the missile fuel tanks was also an American source. It was an American newspaper which first brought it out. So I don't know about that really. I suppose for a corrupt man anything is possible and he'll find ways. But I've not heard this from anywhere else, I must say.
It was very weird, and I kind of laughed at it. I said, because this is amazing. I think the Indian armed forces
Yeah.
are going to have a lovely time fighting China, because all the Chinese are going to do is get us wet. So that is going to be very interesting. So with regards to the India policy, and that's what I wanted to focus on, as I noticed that they are the army spokesperson, the PLA spokesperson. I forget, senior colonel something. I forget his name. He recently said that it's not fair that India is kind of merging the border issue with the overall relations, and this is a part of history, and this and that. And this is a dialogue that they've been borrowing for a long time. It's not something which is new. uh, oh no, let's separate the two. And this is the same mistake they want us to get stuck in, as what the Pakistanis did: keep Kashmir away and let's talk. And that whole thing that happened. uh, is it that we've what have we done to put them into that corner? Because every time there is a thing from them, they feel that they are not very comfortable in the position that they are in. What have we done here? Have we increased the scope of the standoff? Have we brought in more things within the scope of the standoff? What have we done? Their responses are not very, very peaceful and calm, and confident as they were in, let's say, 2020 and 2021.
No, I think that time it was straightforward military action, military operations, so they were clear cut. Right now, they find that we are not willing to bend, if I may say. We don't want to, we are saying relationships cannot be normal unless the borders are normal and stable. So, and you go back to where you were before April 2020. And that's the stumbling point as far as they're concerned. They have now come out saying the whole of Ladakh is ours. So, they're in a bit of a fix. They find that we are not interacting with them bilaterally or otherwise. And that's putting them under some pressure. But I think more importantly, they're worried about the economy, about the economic front. They're under pressure. Their exports have to the US have dropped by 20% last year. That's a lot. And, it's likely to go down further. The US and Europe are the wealthiest markets that they have. So it's hurting them. Their GDP, which was around 77% that of the United States, is now down to below 50. So again, that's a huge jump, a huge drop rather. So they're hurting. And we are the largest market outside the US and Europe, which has been untapped in the world today. And they don't want to lose it. Now, Huawei being knocked out of the 5G is one signal. Other things are going to happen. We are, when we talk about Atmanirbhar, we are trying to build up our own defense equipment. We are trying to look at other things. So they don't want to be frozen out of the Indian market. And they feel that the trend is, as far as the government is concerned, to try and reduce our dependence on the Chinese, which is the right thing to do, in my view. But they also have a large business lobby here in India. I'm not saying that they're anti-national or anything, but they're buying from the Chinese and selling it here instead of making it themselves. So they're appealing in a way to that lobby, asking them to apply pressure so that the Indian government goes slow on imports from China. I would look at it in that perspective, that is the larger game. They don't want a few years down the line. They also realize it's going to take some time. But the way we are being single minded about it, they're worried that they are going to find it more and more difficult to ingress the Indian market.
That's very interesting, because where the power and the capacity of the Chinese with regards these investments is being seen to reduce. And that's a well-known fact. It's not something which is a revelation. The factor that they just lost $6.3 trillion in their stock market, and this is incidentally after a speech that Xi Jinping gave to his people that don't look at money, work for the country, and the next day morning the stock market goes whoop. Uh,
Yeah.
where is the power that the Chinese has today to kind of invest in anything? Leave alone India, for that matter, anywhere else in the world. Maldives guy has gone in and said, oh, this, that, and the other, some 101 secret agreements. But do the Chinese actually have that power to do what they used to do, let's say, 5 years ago, sir?
I think they're in trouble. Economically, they're in trouble. And that is affecting them domestically. Unemployment is high, and you well know graduate unemployment has gone up so much, 21.8%. Businesses are closing down, joblessness is high. The provincial governments have cut salaries by 20 to 30%. And I'm talking about those of the eastern seaboard, which are the more prosperous provinces. Bonuses are being withdrawn. So, in this kind of a milieu, there's a lot of dissatisfaction within China. Cost of living has gone up. They've just raised, in fact, 2 days ago, the price of fuel, so of diesel and petrol. So, things like this are hurting the, are getting the people very upset. They're dissatisfied today with the government. And the academics have started saying exactly the question that you asked. They said, why are we persisting with the Belt and Road and other things when we don't have enough money for ourselves? So that's becoming a factor. I won't say that they are, don't have that much money, but they certainly are going to find it difficult to make these investments the way they used to earlier. But they will probably prioritize and look at some strategic investments that they have to make, and otherwise they will, slow down. My sense is that Belt and Road investments, which have already come down by 50% as far as China is concerned, may reduce even more. And they'll look as to, they'll do sort of cherry picking as to where they should invest. So I think it's not going to be the same kind of easy ride that they've had till now. They're going to find it difficult progressively now.
So coming towards the end, I'd like to ask you about the region as per se. You can see one thing: the tensions in the Red Sea. The Chinese are kind of going scot free from here. Not one of the Chinese ships has been even touched, and a lot of people are raising their eyebrows that what's happening here. And they don't even come out of their docks in Djibouti. We've not seen any Chinese patrols. Nothing. It's absolutely quiet on that part of the game. And today morning, the Chinese current defense minister, I mean, they change so often nowadays, has actually,
Dongjun.
Dong Jun, has openly said to the Russian Defense Minister Shoigu that we stand with you on the Ukraine issue in spite of whatever the US and the UK say. Their statements on Israel are also well known. It's, I mean, just short of saying Hamas Zindabad. Uh, how do you put this in perspective with regards to Chinese foreign policy? Are they really switching towards the other side?
I think they made that determination some time back. The investment that Xi Jinping has made in Putin has been considerable. And I mean, just to paraphrase what you said, he's actually taken Russia's side. So it's, China and Russia versus the United States. That's the
Mhm.
kind of lineup that we are seeing. Of course, they're persisting with Europe, trying to see if they can wean Europe away, which is, I don't think, going to happen. But the Europeans are, looking to make the money, and that's only from China. So there are a whole lot of, factors there. But I think they have decided that Russia is, we can continue to stand by Russia, and Dongjun's meeting therefore is important. It was the first meeting that Dongjun had with the foreign chief, and Dongjun incidentally was educated in Russia also.
Yes.
So, so there is that. But I think it's very clear as to where the Chinese are and what stand they're taking. And as far as the seas are concerned, they have a good equation with Iran. And as you know, the Houthis and all these people are getting supported by Iran. So I think there must be some kind of a quiet word having been given to them not to touch Chinese ships, which is why the Chinese are safe so far.
How do they look at Indian involvement in this area? Because I'm sure they look at it as a whoa, we've not flown any other flag, we've not joined the coalition, we are doing our own thing. And as a matter of fact, we are being recognized more than what the US and the other coalition forces are doing in this place.
Yeah,
How
I
do you
think
think they're
they'd be in
looking at it?
one word, they'd be quite unhappy that it's a rise in our profile, it's a rise in our military stature, and they wouldn't like it at all because the Indian Ocean is an area where they're also they also have interests. They've been talking about Changhe's exploits, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
But now they're seeing us there. They're seeing us operating there, saving ships, saving people, and our ships are, I would say, almost as if they're on call. I mean, they're there all the time, and none of the other powers have shown that kind of alacrity or muscle in this area. So I think the Chinese would overall be unhappy. They'd also be looking at it from the military perspective that India is gaining more experience and more, shall I say, know-how in how to deal with this kind of situation in the seas. And they'll be looking at it ahead that what you can counter, you can also perpetrate. So, if you're going to counter efforts at uh, hijacking ships, etc., or
You
interdicting
can.
ships, you can do the same yourself.
Yeah, I mean, a good pirate is a guy who can actually stop piracy as well. So yeah, absolutely, that's a good way of putting it. So, I mean, you've given me. I was wanted to ask you one more, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna just squeeze in just another one. So when we talk about this particular region, we also know the factor that Pakistan and Iran have this little bit of a tiff that actually took place. We know that the Chinese told them, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Calm down." And they did calm down. But there is an innate tension between both the countries, and both of them have Chinese interests in it. We know what is happening in Balochistan right now; it's in flames. Uh, how do you think China looks at this factor? Because I look at it in another way: is that it's called the roll up of China. You know, your influence is getting rolled up like a carpet after an event. Everywhere that China has an interest has a major chaos brewing. How does the Chinese look at it, and how would they react to this?
I think they'd be apprehensive. I agree with you that in many places the Chinese are now facing difficulties. They'd be apprehensive that their grand plans, may come to naught. Afghanistan, I think, is a question mark. The entire effort going in there, etc. Though they've signed cooperative trade agreements through Wakhan and all that, and with Iran similarly. Now it's a Shia Sunni kind of situation as far as Pakistan and Iran are concerned. The borders are also, I mean, the Iranians are not very happy or comfortable with terrorist groups operating in Pakistan. There is also this, anti-Shia, these groups, anti-Shia groups in Pakistan.
Yep.
So, but both of them are tied in with the Chinese now. Iranians, I think, to a lesser extent, but certainly the Pakistanis. And Iran and China have got that, shall I say, grand plan where they've signed up for so many years and all that. So I think, these are long term plans are fine, but it's at the short term that the problems come. And I think you're right that the Chinese influence seems to be in a bit of trouble. I won't say rolling back yet, but it's in trouble. And the Chinese would be quite apprehensive because if we go by what Xi Jinping and others have been saying, they feel this is their time to make the grand bid to become number one.
Mhm. And for that, and I kind of had this hunch that you would say that for that, what Xi Jinping has promised the CCP is Taiwan, because in
Yes.
2019 he delivered them Hong Kong. And today, one of the reasons he told the elders, and this is something my assessment would say, is that he would have told them, "Listen, I got you Hong Kong in the middle of all the chaos in the world. Nothing happened. Let me take Taiwan, make me the president once again." And they agreed. Now, what does he do?
Well, I mean, he's as I said, there's a lot of dissatisfaction inside China. So either he does what normally these dictators do, divert attention and make a bid for Taiwan, and then it'll be the $1 million question: what will the United States do?
Mhm.
But otherwise, he can just say that, well, we have these problems and we'll sort it out. It might be delayed by a year or two. But I also heard, by the way, I'm not too sure about it, but the sources are generally reliable, that the PLA has conveyed to him that we are not ready yet for Taiwan.
So the PLA daily put it out, sir. It was an audit where we realized certain issues and we are trying to work on it. Yeah, that means you can't fight. I mean, it's as
Yeah.
simple as that. So that was really, really interesting. Sir, always an enlightening discussion. I wish I can talk to you uh, for hours and hours altogether. And trust you me, the audience also loves listening to you when you come to the platform, because a lot of rhetoric about China goes across, which tends to make somebody believe they yaar China तो बच्चा है क्या इसको तो खेल जाएंगे. Never do that. Never underestimate your enemy. It's always a wrong thing to do. And never underestimate a desperate enemy is something that I pick up from you, sir. Thank you so much for that lesson, and I hope you have a nice afternoon walk. I shall see you very soon back again on the platform. Thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Adi. Thank you very much. And I look forward to being with you again.
Thank you, sir.